Woo! Welcome to the Off Base Podcast, the podcast carefully crafted to remind you to suck a fat one if you think you're the only one, because you're not. I'm your host. I'm the Rocky Mountain no-name Jackass. It's 38 degrees in the city of Aurora at 7:52 a.m. on December 13th, 2021. Chow time. Proverbial spit. Ceremonial.
Ew, that's so disgusting.
That's all right. Here we go. Heading on back to base. Holy shit, man. Fun weekend. My wife returned from Washington, D.C. on Friday. She got home. We enjoyed ourselves a nice Lou Malnati's pizza and a bottle of wine. And then the next day was also a nice, relaxing-ish type of day as I made a fucking lasagna. And of course, we enjoyed ourselves another nice bottle of wine. Yesterday, though, was a ton of fun. So my stepson, he is in the band at his high school, and they are planning a trip to New York City. Now, one of the ways to alleviate the costs associated with such a trip is to have the parents volunteer at certain events. And if we were normally just going to work the events, well, then we get paid in cold, hard cashish, take it home and do whatever we want with it. But as the volunteers, whatever we would get paid goes towards the trip, goes to the New York trip. And my wife and I signed up to work concessions at two Denver Broncos games. Yesterday was one of those games. They played, who the hell did they play? I can't even remember. Was it Jacksonville? They kicked the shit out of them. Whoever they played. But the record was like 1-11 and with one tie. Oh man, I felt bad for them. Broncos kicked the shit out of them. But we had a blast. I had a blast. My wife, not so much. I had a blast. We were working a lemonade stand. And that's all we served with two different types of drinks. Lemonade with no alcohol and lemonade with alcohol. It was easy. One of the easiest gigs ever. And just got paid, I think it was like $12 an hour plus the tips. And of course, I don't know if you're like me and my wife, anytime you order an alcoholic beverage, you at least give the person at least $1. Why? I don't know. But we tip them all the time. And the tips turned out to be really good for, what was it, not even 6 hours worth of work that we did? 6-7 hours, I think. But the night before, in order to be able to serve alcohol, we had to take this class on recognizing who to serve and when to serve them. So, it was a matter of being able to check IDs and how to look for phony IDs. And if somebody was intoxicated, then don't serve them anymore. And the funniest part about the fact that we were taking a class on who to serve alcohol to is we were doing it while drinking. We probably had 2 glasses of wine as we went through the course. Now, I don't read so fast, but my wife does. She's like a speed reader. And when I took my SATs way back when, 30 years ago, there was only the verbal and the maths portions of the test. So the maximum score you could get on it was 1,600, 800 on both. And I took the SAT twice, and both times that I took it, I scored a perfect 800 on the math. And the first time I took it, my verbal score was 420. And then the second time I took it, my verbal score was 440. Come to find out, though, when I met my wife, she's a psychologist. She neuropsychologist, actually. Well, she's both. She told me that because there was such a large discrepancy in my verbal and math scores, that it's very likely that I had some type of learning disability, which I never knew. My parents never knew. Never got tested for it, never got diagnosed with it or whatever. But we started doing that online course, and I started probably like 5 minutes earlier than my wife. She was doing something with the lasagna. Well, I made the lasagna, but she was doing something with the bread, I think, or something like that. And I started 5 minutes earlier, and it actually ended up taking me twice as long to finish the exam as her. Like, she fucking flew through it. And it was just a very interesting thing for me to actually see it play out, compared to somebody who has, above average reading capabilities and someone like me who doesn't. Now, our comprehension levels are probably identical. It just takes my brain a little bit longer to process that stuff. Because when we ended up taking the test at the end to make sure that we were certified to serve alcohol at a public event, she scored a 96 on the test and I got a 98 on the test. So the comprehension levels were equivalent. But it's just funny to me just how long it took me to actually to read it. All right, so turning on the highway, we'll get to the fun story of the weekend, which was one of my wife's friends that she went to high school with came in town last night. So after we finished working the Broncos game, we met up with my wife's friend for a drink and then for some food. And it was great. I've met her before, and it was great to see her again, and we had a blast. But she was there. She flew into town because she has something to do with work, and she's staying with her best friend who lives in Denver as well. And we live about a half hour outside of downtown Denver, and we live on base, so it's tough to have people over our place, because what if they need to get off base and get back on? It's kind of a pain in the butt if they're only going to be here like 3 days. So she was staying with a friend downtown, and her friend picked her up at the airport. I don't know, they got in like maybe 12:30, and they started drinking like right when they got into town. So we show up at the bar to have a couple drinks with them. It's probably like 6:30, and the friend was fucking hammered already when we got there. Like, she hadn't had anything to drink at all, and her eyes were all glossing over. She probably took like four different 2-minute naps while we were there just getting drinks. This is even before we got the food. And like I said, we met her before. She's real nice, but it just looked like, man, she had an opportunity to get away from her family, her husband, her kids, and catch up with somebody that she used to party with 30 years ago. And she had a great time, boy. I'll tell you that much. Hammered, just putting the alcohol away. So then we finished the drinks. We go downstairs to get some food, and the place was pretty crowded. And they said, well, just sit wherever you can find a spot. So we kind of found a spot that was like this. There was a couch, and then a table, and then two stools on the end of the table, and then 2 seats on the other side. Well, on the couch was a young couple, 22. The girl was 22. The guy was 23. They were on their first date. So immediately we were like, first date. And, we talked to him the whole time. And I had a fun time talking to the guy because he certainly needed a wingman, now being surrounded by 4 women. It was just him. But I'm pretty sure he could have held his own if I wasn't there. Like, if it was just my wife and her 2 friends that came down and sat next to a couple on a first date. But he did okay. He handled himself pretty well. He had good head on his shoulders. He had good life experience. Just got himself a new job working for Snowflake, if you guys know that company. Just a good kid. I liked him. Like, if I was 23, I think he and I would be each other's wingmen on different occasions. But the girl, I had a different impression of her, man. And I'm trying to figure out if it's a generational thing, or maybe if it was a status thing from where she came from. But, oh my God, She was annoying the shit out of me. So she was a pretty girl and tall and had really nice figure. But I told my wife this afterwards, I'd be like, yeah, I like the dude. I said, but if I would have met that girl in a bar and talked to her for 15 minutes, yeah, I would have been looking for somebody else. Because at one point, so my wife's friend who flew into town, she volunteered to buy, a bunch of appetizers when we got downstairs. And then she said, because we were intruding on the couple's first date, she was like, yeah, we'll buy your drinks too. And I was like, wow, that's really nice of you. So, like after maybe like the third drink, and after we had about half the appetizers, this young girl turns to my wife's friend and she says, hey, I want another drink. I was like, what the fuck? Hey, I want another drink? And I said to her, like, directly, I leaned over the table. I said, you are getting this for free. Maybe you could ask a little nicely. And then she rolled her eyes and she goes, please. I'm like, what the fuck? You rude ass motherfucker. That wasn't the only issue of rudeness, but that's the one that stuck out in my head because I actually said something to her. She never really said anything rude to me. But, oh my God. That just put the worst fucking taste in my mouth, man, after hearing that shit. That was the one that would have made me turn the other way and be like, all right, see you later. Like if I had met her in a bar and she had said that to me, like I was buying the drinks, I'd be like, fuck you, buddy. See ya. Have fun. But just now to go back to what I was saying about it, I don't know if it's generational or status or whatnot, because in talking to her, my wife sat next to her and I sat next to the guy, obviously. And, we were going back and forth between all of our conversations, and I would listen in on what my wife was talking about with her and then just go back to talking to the dude. But, I mean, you could tell when you were talking to this girl that she came from money. And she was dressed very well as well. Excuse me, burping. So I don't know if she came from money and just like assumed people would, I don't know, like be falling all over their feet just to please her or whatever. But I was like, oh my God, just the entitled and conceited nature of the way in which she handled herself. Oh man, it was a turnoff. And there was something else that's, numerous times, it wasn't just with me, but with everybody who was there, even the guy that she was with, they would start talking to her about something, and then she would just immediately, out of nowhere, either start looking at her phone or turn to somebody else and start talking to them. I'm like, what the This is where I say, I don't know if it's generational or not, that these young kids these days, that if they grew up in that culture of always looking at their phone and not being able to focus on somebody for a conversation because they got that fucking ADD, like, oh, I'm bored for 2 seconds, so I got to go find something to occupy my time. Ugh. Oh man, I don't know. Maybe I'm just an old man. That's certainly a possibility, and I don't know how to keep up with the times and how people communicate these days. But, yeah, that's not a person I would want to be hanging around with. Anyway, we're off the highway. I had to get that out because it fucking annoyed me. But, we still had a great time, without a doubt. So here we go, heading back. I'm not on base yet, but I'm making a turn to one of the streets that's going to get us a little bit closer. Very, very interesting, busy week coming up now. Because what we've got is my wife's sister coming in town from Chicago with her 2 boys and her boyfriend. They're going to come in on Friday, and we are simply going to pick up the children from school and drive to Vail for a lovely, lovely holiday ski week in Vail. And we've got a condo that we got at a nice rate. So with the condo, it comes a kitchen, and I get to cook, which I love. so we don't have to spend fucking $500 a day on food, which I always hate. I love when we got a condo because I can bring $500 worth of groceries and cook for the entire week. And everybody's happy, especially me. Speaking of money, just going back to money, and the amount of money that we were able to make at the game for my stepson, it was a little over $400 that we made to go towards his New York trip. And I started thinking, I was like, wait a minute, man. I said, this is, and I like I said, I really had a good time doing it. I was like, wait a minute. If I can do something like this, like work a Nuggets game or work a Colorado Rockies game once on the weekend, once during the week, dude, and to, you know, just be at the stadium, get a little bit back involved in the sports scene, be like, this is cool. I could bring home, you know, maybe $300-400 extra a week just for going and slinging drinks and getting to, you know, to watch a little bit of the game. Maybe not live because you know, we were so busy pouring drinks and whatnot. That might be something that I want to do come 2022. It was a lot of fun. It really was. And the people that we met there, you know, who have the companies that provide those types of services, you know, they'll hire anybody. If you're available and you've taken the course and you're a good person, I guess. I don't know how you judge that, but they'll hire you and you go, oh, I got to move over to the next lane because I'm in the truck lane. Let's see if somebody's going to let me in here. And yes, military people, they're good about letting you in. Colorado drivers, though, in general, suck a big fat one. Anyway, I got to get my ID ready. Moto's probably not working on Mondays. I usually see him on Wednesdays, even though he said, when I asked him the last time, that he's here every day. Or could be here every day. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, going back to the rest of the week. Busy week. My stepson and I got to get our workouts in. My wife is going to be in Colorado Springs today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. She's going to come back tonight, but she's going to stay over Tuesday into Wednesday with our friends that live down in Colorado Springs. But while she is going to be busy with work, I'm going to make sure that everybody is packed up and ready to go. I also have Christmas presents I got to wrap and more Christmas presents that I have to order. And there's one other thing. Yeah, I got to make sure I get boxes and stuff, wrapping paper. We already have wrapping paper, but boxes. I got to make sure I got the Christmas candy because we leave for our trip on Friday, right after the kids are done with school, and then we'll be back Christmas Eve morning. The fucking commissary has had this incredible deal on prime rib roasts, man. $7 a pound for a prime rib roast. I remember in Texas, they were like $12, $13, $14 a pound. I was like, fuck that, I can't do a prime rib this year if it's fucking $14 a pound. But I'm doing the prime rib this year, man. $7 a pound. It's going to be fucking awesome. All right, about to get scanned. Morning, my man.
You gotta go. Have a good day.
Thank you. So prime rib on Christmas Day. I actually am thinking about getting 2 and taking a prime rib up with us to Vail. Because I was asking my wife, hey, what are some of the things you might want? I said, I want to try to stick to one-pot dishes. I'll probably make a chili one night. What was the other one-potter that I said I was going to do? It wasn't a soup. Probably a pasta. There's this bacon and mushroom pasta that my wife loves that I make that's made with balsamic vinegar as well. It's a balsamic reduction that's in it. It's really, really good. And we have it almost every time that we have gone skiing for our spring break trips that we've done in the past. So I'll probably do that one. So the mushroom pasta, the chili, and then she said, oh, we got to have steaks and baked potatoes. And I was like, okay. So, you know, instead of getting, you know, kind of expensive steaks or expensive cuts, I think I really should get this $7 a pound prime rib roast and do a prime rib one night. That'd be fucking awesome. Awesome, man. All right, anyway, so here we go. Back on base. Very, very busy week. not doing the afternoon podcast anymore because morning's enough. Anything I can do to help somebody get through their morning commute, or maybe you just need somebody to listen to throughout the day. Stay motivated. Go after what you want. Don't let anybody tell you different, and I'll smell you tomorrow.